I've always been fascinated by mysteries, the kind of secrets that time refuses to give up. But there are a few stories in human history that have haunted me, kept me awake at night because they feel almost impossible. Tonight, I want to take you on a journey through 3 such mysteries. Each one is real, each one is ancient, and each one has defied explanation for centuries. The first one begins on the windswept steppes of Mongolia, in a grave that no one has ever found. I remember the first time I read about Genghis Khan's burial. The thought struck me like a lightning bolt, the most feared conqueror in history. His tomb completely lost, not robbed, not looted, not turned into a tourist site, just gone. He died in 1227 CE after building an empire so vast it stretched from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe. And yet, despite his unparalleled conquest of the known world, his final resting place remains a secret. What amazed me most was the legend surrounding his funeral. According to historical accounts, the people who buried him went to extraordinary lengths to ensure no one would ever find his grave. Witnesses were killed. Rivers were diverted. The burial site was hidden so meticulously that even modern satellite scans haven't produced definitive evidence. I thought about this for hours, imagining that final procession across the steppes, the sounds of hooves echoing, warriors marching in silence, and the body of the great Khan being lowered into the earth. And then, the killers vanishing, leaving the tomb to disappear into myth. In recent decades, archaeologists and explorers have tried to uncover the truth. They've used drones, ground-penetrating radar, and satellite imaging. They've followed local folklore that points to the Khenti Mountains, the region traditionally believed to be near his birthplace. But every attempt ends in frustration. Mounds appear, but none have been definitively linked to the Khan. What's even more chilling is that some theories suggest deliberate deception. Multiple false tombs may have been constructed to mislead grave robbers, and some experts even speculate that the true burial site could have been destroyed to keep it forever sacred. I've always wondered, what if the tomb holds more than just the body of a man? Could it be filled with treasures collected from across the empire? Ancient scrolls, artifacts, even knowledge lost to time? The very idea sends shivers down my spine. And yet, here's the reality. For nearly 800 years, the tomb of Genghis Khan has been invisible to the world. No human has ever entered. No hand has disturbed the earth that guards him. Standing in Mongolia, staring at the endless horizon, I couldn't help but feel a strange reverence. A man who commanded the world in life still commands silence in death. If the story of a lost emperor could captivate me for hours, the next mystery made me question everything I thought I knew about humanity itself. It's a discovery so bizarre, so unsettling, that it feels like something out of a legend. Yet it was recorded by serious scientists. I'm talking about the Giant of Castelnau, France. It was 1890 when I first stumbled across the story, and I immediately knew it was unlike anything I'd read before. Archaeologists were excavating in a small French village called Castelnau-le-Lez when they unearthed bones that seemed impossible. A femur, a humerus, a tibia. But not just any bones. These were enormous. The measurements suggested a human being who would have stood over 11 feet tall. Let that sink in for a moment. A human giant walking the earth centuries ago. At first, I assumed it was a hoax. Newspapers were sensationalizing stories all the time back then. But the bones were documented by professional anthropologists. They measured them, compared them to average human skeletons, and concluded that, if accurate, this individual defied everything we know about human anatomy. The bones disappeared almost as quickly as they were discovered. Records vanished. Some say the French government or the church quietly removed them to prevent panic or controversy. Others argue the measurements were exaggerated or the bones misidentified. As I dug deeper, I realized that even today there is no consensus. We don't know if the bones were from a giant human, a previously unknown species, or simply a misinterpreted fossil of a prehistoric animal. The truth is buried somewhere in the archives, lost to time, and it's a mystery that refuses to die. I couldn't stop imagining what it would have been like to see such a being alive. How did it move? What was its life like in a world built for average-sized humans? And why are there no other remains? Some researchers have speculated that giants existed in Europe long ago, scattered across myths and folklore. I've always been skeptical until I looked at the measurements and realized that the scientist S notes were meticulous, precise, and seemingly credible. And that's when I understood why this story stayed with me. The possibility of a human, or something human-like, towering over 11 feet tall, living among us, challenges not only history, but biology itself. As I sat in my study poring over the sketches and measurements, I realized something unsettling. The evidence may have been lost, but the story itself refuses to fade. The Giant of Castelnau exists in the shadows of history, whispers in old journals, fleeting newspaper clippings, and speculation among scholars. I started imagining the implications. What if giants weren't just one-off anomalies? Could there have been a hidden population, slowly disappearing over time? Some folklorists claim that myths of enormous humans, often depicted as protectors, kings, or monsters, may have a kernel of truth. And yet science is stubborn. Without the bones, without DNA, without more skeletal evidence, all of this remains conjecture. But that's the thing about mysteries. They persist precisely because they refuse to be solved. I like to think about that giant walking the fields of France centuries ago, towering over his neighbors, perhaps inspiring tales that would evolve into the legends we still tell today. And then I remember the eerie fact. We may never know for sure. If the idea of a human giant can unsettle even the most skeptical mind, imagine stepping into a place where every wall, every ceiling, every column has been carved by human hands. Yet we have no idea who did it or why. That's exactly what I felt the first time I read about the Longyou Caves in China. And I knew immediately, this isn't just a mystery. They were architectural marvels, perfectly symmetrical with walls and ceilings marked by thousands of precise chisel lines, columns supporting massive ceilings, and floors so smooth they seemed almost polished. The sheer scale alone boggled my mind. To carve out even one of these caves with the tools we believe were available at the time would have required thousands of workers, years of labor, and unimaginable organization. And yet, somehow, it was done. What's more, there is no historical record of who built them, why they were built, or how they were constructed. I spent hours reading archaeological reports and trying to reconcile the facts. No dynastic records mention the caves. No ancient texts hint at their existence. The labor alone would have been impossible to hide, and yet here they were, untouched for centuries. Some researchers hypothesize they were granaries. Others suggest temples or sacred spaces. But there's a creeping feeling of unease when you consider the logistics, the precision, the scale, the mystery of missing debris. I remember watching a video of someone exploring the caves, a flashlight beam cutting through thick darkness. The echoes of footsteps seemed amplified by time itself. Every wall, every chisel mark, every column felt deliberate, almost ritualistic. And I kept asking myself, who were these people? And why did they vanish, leaving no trace of their incredible work? Some have speculated that the caves might have been a forgotten experiment in underground engineering, or perhaps part of a ritual practice that modern historians will never fully understand. But even the most grounded theories struggle to explain the accuracy, uniformity, and preservation of these chambers. And the more I read, the more I realized. The Longyou Caves challenge not only history, but our understanding of human capability. They demand we ask difficult questions about lost knowledge, forgotten civilizations, and the limits of what we think we know. There's something almost otherworldly about descending into those caverns. You feel small. You feel insignificant. And yet, you also feel connected to every hand that chipped away at the sandstone centuries ago. It's a link to a world that refuses to speak, yet speaks volumes through stone. As I reflect on these three mysteries, the lost tomb of Genghis Khan, the Giant of Castelnau, and the Longyou Caves, I notice a common thread. Each one reminds me that the past is not always kind enough to explain itself. It hides, it deceives, and it challenges everything we think we know. I can't help but wonder, what else is out there, buried beneath centuries of soil, myth, and silence? How many other truths have we yet to discover? And, perhaps most unsettling of all, how much of our history is waiting quietly, refusing to be understood, until we are ready or lucky enough to find it? When I think about standing in Mongolia, looking over the endless steppes, or walking through the misty forests of France, or descending into the vast, echoing caverns of Zhejiang, I realize that mystery is more than just the absence of knowledge. It is a reminder of wonder, a reminder of human ambition, and a reminder that the world is far stranger than most of us dare to imagine. These stories, these enigmas, are not just tales to entertain us. They are warnings and invitations. Warnings that history is larger, darker, and more complex than we assume. Invitations to keep searching, questioning, and imagining. I don't have the answers. Maybe no one ever will. But that's exactly what keeps me coming back, to look at the earth, the stone, the bones, and to whisper, what secrets are you hiding from me? And if you, like me, are captivated by mysteries, then remember, sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't the answers, but the questions themselves. 3 mysteries, 1 world, endless questions. If you love uncovering the world's hidden mysteries, subscribe and join me. The next secret is waiting just beneath the surface.